Antonio Stradivari is primarily known for his violins, but he did make cellos as well. Now, the cello is one of my favorite instruments. In fact, I would love to learn how to play the cello. So this is kind of a nice middle ground for me where I can use my piano skills, at least for playing single note melodies, and play the cello. This, of course, means that today we're looking at the Stradivari cello from the Cremona Quartet by Native Instruments and E-Instruments. Now, unlike our previous entry with the Amati viola, I will not be splitting this into two parts. This will be one part encompassing the overview and then the technical details. And as before, I will be reading off of the instrument manual in order to get details and descriptions just right. Now, as with the other instruments in the Cremona Quartet, the Stradivari cello was recorded on location in Cremona, Italy at the Auditorium Giovanni Arvedi, designed by Yasuhisa Toyota. They used 32 carefully selected microphones placed throughout the hall to provide this digital recreation. Now, this cello was built by Stradivari in 1700 and is listed as an Italian national treasure. This particular cello is famous for its luscious deep tones that add weight to the sound of the string quartet. Now, up until this recording, only a few were privileged to play this instrument, which is on display at the Museo del Violino in the birthplace of Antonio Stradivari. Okay, let's start with the main page. Running here inside of Kontakt Player 8, we have the main page of the Stradivari cello. We have the mixer window right here with our close, mid, and far microphone positions. We have the dynamics section with our dynamics, short articulation control, expression control, rate, vibrato, and vibrato style. We have our articulation slots down here in the middle. And finally, we have our position control. Now, it's important to note that there are two versions of this instrument. There's the standard version, which you can see right here, Stradivari Flex Vibrato. And that includes, if we go here, it's a mix down of these three microphone positions, a stereo mix down, so you do not have access to these. Today we're on the multi-mic Flex Vibrato right here, and we have the three microphone positions with their on and off buttons right here. Now, the on and off buttons correspond with the close, mid, and far designations. So with all the microphones on, it sounds like this. And then if we were to turn off, let's start with the far microphone. So we'll turn off the close and the mid microphones. That gives the very far away sound of the microphones very far back in the room. Now, if we go to, let's say, just the mid microphones, let that load. All right, so that's further away, but not quite so far as the far microphones. And then we have, of course, the close microphones, which, as you expect, are closed. Very grateful to Sun Productions for providing the MIDI for that demo that we listened to, as I'm not as familiar with the melody of this piece, which I greatly appreciate. Now, as you can see, I was also adjusting the dynamics here with my mod wheel as I played that. So that is another thing that we'll look at in a moment. But before we go there, we're going to talk about the room noise, and this is the amount of the noise floor that they captured in the auditorium during the recording. So let's turn that up. It is a very, very subtle sound, but I can kind of hear, it's like a bit of white noise in the background. By default, this is turned all the way down. That's exactly where I'm going to leave it for most of this deep dive. Then, of course, we have this feature, which we haven't really talked about in our previous ventures, but that is the close button. Very important, allows you to close that and then go on to the next section, which is the dynamics section. So right here on the left, we have the expression, which adjusts the volume of the performance. And you can also control this with a foot pedal, which I have set up as we've seen before. And it just jumped when I touched it. Now, for some reason, mine, it's made by Onstage Stands, and I don't know if this is typical or more likely it's a quirk of my particular pedal, but it doesn't take it all the way up to the top in the expression. So let's do a demo. A very rough demo, but you get the idea. It controls the dynamics separately, in fact, from what we're doing with the mod wheel. And the mod wheel is controlling from piano to forte. So, or double piano to forte, let's see. And we could control this with, so let me actually read it here. The dynamics controls the volume and dynamics of the performance. To control the value via your DAW, use MIDI CC1, and it can also be accessed from the main page, and that is absolutely correct. Even if we were to close this window here, we could access it right here from the main page, just like that. And you can see my mod wheel value adjusting as well. Here we have it. All right, so now because we have the expression soft right now, that's going to sound a little bit muted, so here we go. So if you use these in conjunction, again, kind of a rough demo, but you get the idea how you can work if you have better coordination than me. But that is one way to control the dynamics there with both the expression and the CC1 or the mod wheel here. All right, the other thing is the short articulations drop-down menu, and it assigns the note dynamics to either the velocity. So let's pick something like pizzicato. By default, that is being controlled by the velocity of the keys as I hit them. So, I got a little excited there. Let's do louder. And that is an example of the velocity-controlled short articulation. Now, if I hit it to controller, by default, it is set to my pedal here. So you will see that that little line will no longer be bouncing. Bring the dynamics up so we can hear this even better. Now that was just to show that no matter what velocity I'm playing, so I could be playing, and again, you're going to hear the keys very loud, and probably not able to hear the instrument, but that's even better, and this will be even. Okay, once again going to extremes to make the point. So that is our dynamics section, and then I'll put it back to velocity, and you'll see once again that it is controlled by the velocity of the keys. All right, now we go down to the vibrato, and the vibrato is one of the most recognized ways to inject emotion into a cello performance. And so this features captured vibrato performances, which are then reapplied to non-vibrato samples. This is what is meant by the flex vibrato. And then it lets you adjust the speed seamlessly in real time. So let's have it. Oh, but we need to put it on a long articulation like virtuoso. Or this is an adaptive one, but we'll get to the differences in a minute. That's the rate adjustment. And then this one here is the depth and intensity of the vibrato. And this is CC14. And you can use the vibrato slider right here like this. So this is a very shallow vibrato. And as we bring it up, a very deep and tall vibrato. This, by the way, would sound very nice with the, see the soft, the muted cello. And we'll look more at that setting when we look at the articulation slots. So that's vibrato. Now we have another number of styles, and as with the dynamics, I almost forgot to mention you can adjust it here on the main page. So if you were to have this closed, you can adjust right here. All right. Now, so we have the rate, we have the slider, the vibrato slider, and then we have the style. Now we have passionate here, which is the one that I find to be my favorite. All right, we also have intense. All right, tried to do a chord there at the end, didn't quite land. Let's see. Okay, you can do chords there a little bit, or fifths. But you have to hit it just right so it doesn't... Anyway, that's one of the features of this cello. So we have our rate, our vibrato slider, and we have our style. Let's pick evolving, just to hear what that one sounds. Not my favorite, but it is interesting. And then we also have narrow and immediate, which we'll look briefly at those. So narrow. And then we'll try immediate. All right, so immediate is more immediate than the other ones, as we would expect. I'm going to put it back to passionate. We also have wide. So passionate, intense, wide, evolving, narrow, and immediate. All right. So that is the vibrato section under the dynamics and or performance controls here. It says performance right there. So performance being the overarching category under which we have dynamics and vibrato. All right. And once again, we have the close button at the top right. Click. Now we're going to look at the articulation slots. Now, there are 20 articulations which we have access to, and I'm just going to click right here on the virtuoso, and we will see these 20 articulations. Now, before we look at any of the others, I am going to look at the virtuoso, which is part of the adaptive category. We have the long as well, the short, the expressive, the dynamic, and the special. And the ones that have none are marked by this, but I've already filled the slots, so that's why there are none with the none marker. But if you click none, as I just did, it will reset the slot to none. So let's put virtuoso back. Now, virtuoso is a performance mode that intelligently combines several articulations, and it's a great way to perform realistic cello performances on a MIDI keyboard. Now, we use this setting, which I applied to the MIDI from Sun Productions for Gabriel's oboe, which we heard at the beginning of this deep dive. And so that, combined with some other features, which we'll get into here. By default, it's legato style. So these note transitions are played with fingered or bowed legato styles, and if they have higher velocities, they will trigger portamento transitions. Now, right now, it's fingered and bowed to start with the higher velocity, in this case of 104, bringing us that portamento. Now you could actually reverse that and have it be portamento by default, and then change to legato at velocities of 105 or higher. As you can see, it's very difficult to play legato at velocities over 104. Once again, for MIDI velocities, 1 being the quietest, and then 127 being the loudest. So 104, while not very hard, is difficult to play in a legato way and beat this predominantly portamento setting. And so I like to leave it on fingered and bowed being the easier one to access, and then the portamento being the greater one that's harder to hit. But that's just me. All right, now another setting hidden in the virtuoso mode is that if you hit static, I almost said statically, but in a staccato method, harder than 104, 105 or higher, you will get the marcato articulation. Now there are two more settings nested in here, and that is the spiccatissimo and staccato articulations, which are controlled by the pitch bend control on your keyboard. So as you see, as I move this, the pitch bend is moving. So the spiccatissimo is in the up mode, and then the spiccato is down. Both short articulations. So you have in here, you have legato, you have marcato, you have spiccatissimo and spiccato, and then you have the portamento transition. So that's 5 features nested within this virtuoso articulation slot, or this adaptive articulation, I should say. All right, now before we move on, we want to talk about the key switch and the bow change up there. And these are they're key switches. So key switches, if you don't know, are certain notes, in this case, at the bottom range of the piano. In fact, some of these are off of the piano, where you can control what articulation you're using. So that one, the last C here, is actually doing this, because I set it up to do that. But C1 or C minus 1 is our virtuoso. And if I were to octave this keyboard down, then I could hit all of them like this. There we go. And this enables you to switch articulations without... In fact, this is as high as the cello goes. So I don't need to have this keyboard in a typical octave range, so I will just -1 for the rest of this deep dive. And wish I had done that for the other one, but live and learn. So right there, C -1 and D -1. And you can switch articulations just like this. Oh, I forgot. There's E1, F1, and then G1, A1, B1, and C0. All right, so you can access all those, and you can switch while playing without lifting your hands to the mouse or any other control. All right. So those are the key switches. Now you could change right here your key switches to be any other note. And oh, I forgot to mention D1 is our let's get there on the info here. D1 is our bow change button, and if you hold down E1, it will force open strings, which we'll get to when we talk about the position controls. Now, you can adjust any of these by either hitting the up and down. Let's see, come on. Well, you can't go up, but oh, there you go. We'll click and drag like this, okay? Or you could hit here and go MIDI learn, and you hit that, and then you'll hit the corresponding key that you want to assign, and now the open string, force open string, or the bow change has been moved to F0. But I want to put it back to D, so I'll hit MIDI learn again, hit D, or once again, you could go up like this. But if you don't want to, like if you were to put it on the E flat or the D sharp there, that can be kind of hard to find in here, so the MIDI learn is a good way to get it, you know, on these black keys, or we might even put it, oh, you have to hit it again and put it there. Okay, now the E1 for the force open strings, okay, there is a way to move that, and that's on one of the other panels that we'll look at. I believe it's on the position. Yes, it is on the position control. All right, so now that we've talked about the key switch controls, and it will work the same for this one. Let's see, C1 is for a virtuoso, but we could easily move it up like that, or we could simply say, let's hit the F key, and now it is F0. But I want it back to C0. I'm going to hit MIDI learn, C minus 1 rather. C0 is all the way up here. Okay, so far we've covered the key switch and bow change MIDI controls here, and we have covered the adaptive virtuoso mode, and we also saw that if you hit none, it will automatically reset your slot to being empty. And now C0 has nothing. So if you wanted to mute the cello, I don't know why you would, but you could do that, have an empty slot and just mute it. Okay, let's go now to the long articulations. And before we get into that really quick, con Sordino. This means with mute, and is used to control the volume level of a string instrument performance. So these were widely popularized by Romantic composers from the Romantic period of classical music, who looked for new timbres and ways to perform in more conservative volume levels. So in Italian, this means with mute, and this style produces a completely different timbre. So let's hear it regular. And then let's hear it with mute. Okay. I was trying to activate the portamento and didn't quite hit the right velocity. But you get the idea. So without mute, with mute, it's almost an intimate, like you're whispering a secret to someone, perhaps. All right, so let's look at the articulation types. We have our long articulations, we have our short articulations, we have our expressive, our dynamic, and our special. We already covered adaptive. So I'm going to go ahead and reassign all of these, and this is how you would do that. We go here, and then we'll go here, marcato, and then we go here, detache. All right, and that is our long articulations. I'm going to empty these so we can focus. Okay, those are our long articulations. We already covered adaptive, but I can throw it in there just for the fun of it. Okay. So, sustain plays, as you would expect, long sustained notes. And there are 4 modes for sustain. We have fingered, we have bowed, we have runs, and we have porta. So let's run through fingered. Bowed. And finally, portamento. Now, I understand you would probably never use it like that, but that just gives you an idea. What you could do, which is an interesting feature of the sustain articulation, is you could then go over here, go to sustain again and say, I want fingered. So you go like this. All right. So you could go back and forth in that. You wouldn't have to activate it with the velocity. You could simply hit your key switches and switch between the different types of sustain. And you could continue to do that with bowed. You could put that on another slot, and you could put runs on another slot. Now, runs is particularly for faster, let's see. As opposed to bowed, they're both pretty fast. That one's a little more defined. Runs has it a little more slurred. Now, I just did a very piano move. I don't think cello, because you're switching strings, that would be very difficult to do. Right, okay. You get the idea. You get the point. So, let's see. One of the notes here says double stop is a string instrument technique of playing 2 notes simultaneously. Articulations that are usually monophonic, such as sustain and marcato, and as we learned, the virtuoso, they will allow you to play double stops. And to achieve this, you simply press or trigger 2 notes precisely at the same time. And as we saw, that was a little difficult, but here we go. Got that on the first try. So if you hit them precisely at the same moment, you'll get that double stop. Otherwise, if you hit them remotely separate, they will play separately. All right, marcato is to play accented notes, and I just erased marcato. Let's put it back. Okay, and this one I'll put back to bowed. Marcato also has the fingered runs and porta. Marcato are played with a stronger attack compared to a sustained note. So let's see. Let's put them both on bowed. So sustain. Here we go. Marcato. As you can tell, you can still play these in a legato fashion. But initially there's more attack. Hit those at about the same velocity, but there's definitely more attack for the marcato. Now, détaché is played with a separate bow stroke. So faster bow strokes make détaché useful, and hopefully I'm not pronouncing this wrong. It looks like détaché. Faster bow strokes make détaché useful when playing faster passages, and the bow changes are smooth and not accented. So if we hit détaché, let's use our key switch here. And they end rather cleanly. Right? So that is our three long articulations: sustain, marcato, and détaché. Now let's go to our short articulations, and let's repopulate these slots here. So we'll get sottile single. All right, spiccatissimo. Badum. Spiccato. Staccato. And pizzicato. All right. So spiccatissimo, if you've heard of spiccato or staccato, this is a very, very, very short articulation. Oh, I think I was supposed to have sottile right here. Spiccatissimo. Single. Oh, spiccatissimo. Oh, we have spiccatissimo single, spiccatissimo, and then we had this spiccato right there. Then we have staccato, and then we have pizzicato. Oh, okay, there we go. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why do I have 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I doubled up on something.
Moments later.
Spiccato. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Ah, I did it again. How?
More moments later.
I've spiccato twice. That is the problem. Staccato. There we go. And then pizzicato. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I think we're in business now. So, sottile single is alternating bow strokes. The wooden part of the bow jumps or hops up on each note change, compared to the similar spiccato articulation where the whole hair of the bow leaves the string. Sottile allows you to play faster passages as the hair of the bow stays on the string. So let's hear it. Once again, I did my very piano move. Let me try to keep it cello. And now, spiccatissimo. And this one is a shorter, more accented version of spiccato. Then we have staccato. Staccato is a short, non-bouncing bow stroke where the bow does not leave the string. And I think we can hear the difference. And then we have pizzicato, which is the string being plucked with the index finger of the bowing hand. So you could actually do this with a bow in your hand, as I'm sure you know. And this creates a very different, almost percussive sound. All right, so those are our short articulations. Now we move on to the expressive articulations. I'm going to zero this and then we will articulate. So starting with the first one, we'll go expressive, we'll go tremolo, trill, ricochet, and sottile. Not sottile single, but sottile. Okay. And that is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we are set. Let's go. So we have two options. We have a speed here for, obviously it's tremolo. So we have bowed. We can have it on rebow. And that is for the transitions. It's the legato selector. We have our speed down here, which could adjust the speed to inhumanly fast. It's a little bit of drudgery in how slow that is, but you could go anywhere in between as well. All right, so that's tremolo is, of course, a note played repeatedly with no specific accent with fast alternating bow strokes. So we have bowed and rebowed. All right. Now we have the trill. Now trill is interesting because depending on the velocity, it will either do a half note or whole note range. So let's demonstrate that. So soft velocity. Let's go up higher. Now anything above a velocity of 64, 64 being in the middle of 1 and 127, will trigger a whole note. Lower. Half note. So that's an interesting effect. That's very, very nice to do that. We also have our porta and our rebow. So right now, it will do a portamento switch. If we hit this, it'll rebow. I personally prefer the rebow. And then you can, of course, adjust the speed of it right here. Right. You can make it inhumanly fast. Okay. And those are the adjustments you have for the trill settings. Now, you could change the velocity at which it does the whole note trill. We can make it even harder to get to. You can make it 127. Very, very difficult. I'm afraid to hit my keyboard any harder to try to get it at that maximum switch. What you could do is, of course, record it and then adjust the MIDI note. But they have it at 64 for a reason. I'm going to keep it at 64. So let's bring it down. All right. And we also have the corn Sordino with moot. Con, not corn. All right, so that is the trill. We move on then to the ricochet, which is exactly what you might think it is. The ricochet is several notes played together with the same bow direction while the bow is bouncing on the string. So and we can adjust the speed of this as well. We go faster. Or slower. And anywhere in between. I think there's a reason they have it in the middle. Okay, then we have sottile. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but for now, sottile are notes played repeatedly. So we had the sottile single, which was, simply. But the full sottile, full sottile. Now we can tempo sync it to my DAW, which is right now at 120. We have to do double time. I don't know if you could do it that fast. Probably. We'll untempo sync it and see what it is naturally. Okay, and that's where you have your speed adjustment, where we could make it go fast again. Really slow. Anywhere in between. All right. So those are our expressive articulations. Next, we have our dynamic articulations. So we will load up crescendo, diminuendo short, and diminuendo long. I'm going to zero out these other two. So crescendo, as you would expect from this direction, is going from soft to loud. And we can change how quickly that increases. We'll leave it on the slowest. Then we have diminuendo short, which is, it increases gradually, and let's see, the speed to increase, to adjust this. Okay, so we'll use the speed control to adjust the speed of the loudness decrease. I think the default is just about right. Then we have our diminuendo long, which of course will be longer than that short one. All right, finally we go to the special articulation. So we have, first of all, our key switch, sul pon. Sounds very French, or looks French to me. And it is probably not. Sul pon. We have sul testo. We have harmonics. And we have col lengo. Lengo. It's fun. I'll have to read over here. So yes. Sul pon, sul tasto, not testo, harmonics, and col lengo. This is exactly the same as the articulations you'll find in the amati viola. So let's start with sul pon. Now this is played, notes are played close to the bridge. If you can envision the very, well, we don't have to, let's go right here. The bridge of the, almost said the viola. This is not a viola. The bridge of the cello right here. So normally notes are played in this range. Sometimes they're played up here. Usually not. Usually it's right in between the end of the fingerboard and the bridge. But if you play really close to the bridge, you get this specific effect. Kind of a haunting, metallic, screamy, overdriven-ish sound. And that's not something you hear very often on a cello. I have heard it on a fiddle or a violin. And we talked about that last time. Okay, then we have the sul tasto, which notes are played near or over the fingerboard. Okay, so I did mention that. Near or over the fingerboard, and this results in a flute-like timbre. Of course, you can tell that it's still a stringed instrument, but it has a softer tone to it. In a different way, by the way, than you would get with the mute section. And there is with it still some of that slight distortion sound, which is interesting. So let me go ahead and zero this one out again to avoid confusion. So that's the sul tasto, near the fingerboard, sul pon, near the bridge. Then we have our harmonics. Now the harmonics are notes played with the fingers gently on the strings, resulting in harmonic overtones. Now you'll notice that there are less in this section here. There are less harmonic tones than there are notes in the range of the entire cello. So let's see. And those are even softer, a little more haunting sound. And so sometimes you'll hear harmonics in like the beginning before at the beginning of a piece. Quite often they're used for different things, but that's quite often how I hear it. All right, so our last one in the special articulations is col lengo, which are notes played by striking the string with the wooden part of the bow as opposed to the hair of the bow, resulting in percussive notes. So unlike our ricochet, where the bow is bouncing on the hair part, it is being struck with the wooden part. And so it's almost like, well, let's hear it. Now, another way we can control this, as with the short articulations controlled in the performance section, like we did for the pizzicato, we can set this to controller, and then we can control it. It will always be loud as opposed to being dependent on the velocity of my key presses. So. All right, so we'll put it back to velocity there. So that has been our look at the articulation slots, the 20 articulations, covering the long articulations, the adaptive, the short, the expressive, the dynamic, and indeed the special. And our final section we'll look at is the position control. For high string, fingering on higher strings is preferred when possible. Okay. For low string, fingering on lower strings is preferred when possible. Playing passages on lower strings results in softer and more delicate timbre, and fingering on high strings often results in a brighter and more metallic timbre, or it does result in a brighter, more metallic timbre. Now, smart is enabled by default, and that's where I typically leave it, and that intelligently chooses the most realistic fingering for the notes played. As an example, when playing a chromatic passage, smart mode chooses to play the notes on the same string when possible. So you see all four of those notes are played on the same string. And it kind of switches for the others. And then that's how a real cellist would do. And in contrast, when playing a motif, moving around different strings in the same area of the fingerboard, fingering on a different string is preferred intelligently and realistically. Now, I didn't re-trigger as you probably would for that last note. If I were recording, I would edit that for velocity, as in fact, I believe Sun Productions did in the MIDI that was created for that. So another thing we can do is force open strings. But before we look at that, I want to talk about the visualization of the fingers, as you saw. Now the full white, let's zoom in a bit. The fully white circles are featuring the actual finger position, and the dim dots, so as you can see right here, full one. This is an alternative finger position for the same note. So if I were to So perhaps if I were to put it on the low string, versus the high string, you can see it moves to that alternative finger position. Okay, so I think we've thoroughly demonstrated that. And then no fill indicates that the note can be played on an open string. Now, there are only 4 notes that can be played on an open string, and that is, of course, our C, G, D, and A. Okay, now, by default, it is not going directly to open strings, except for this, because that is physically the lowest note on the cello, so you wouldn't be pressing anything. But this could also be played on an open note, and in order to force that, we're going to hold down, in this case, our E0 key. Now, as with the other selections, we could move it around like this, and you'll see the green one move around at the bottom of the map there. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. We can move it anywhere, or we could put it back to E simply by sliding it down, or by selecting MIDI Learn and pressing E0. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to hold down E0, and you'll hear all the strings played open. So I tried that double stop, getting them to play at the same time, but you get the idea. Without open strings being forced. With them. Especially on that high note, you can hear the more ringing type sound, as opposed to the more mellow sound when it's not on an open string. So that is what the force open strings knob does, and we already talked about the MIDI Learn. So those are the full sections of the Stradivari cello. We went over our mixers and our dynamics controls, our performance controls, which include dynamics and vibrato, and our 20 articulations and the articulation slots, and then the very useful and helpful position control. And that is the Stradivari cello. So thank you for joining me for this deep dive. Next time we're going to look at the Guarneri violin and the different sounds that produces with the same setup here. So until next time, happy music making, stay curious, check out the videos that YouTube is recommending for you. Hopefully they nailed it. See you in the next one.